Hero,
Rachel,
how are you?
I'm doing just fine. It's been forever.
Right?
Forever. I feel like it could be a second and I would say it's forever.
It is forever.
Like your puppy when you leave for 5 minutes and you come home and your puppy is like it has not seen you for a year.
Don't get me started about puppies because my husband, we shouldn't get started with that, but my husband does not want a dog and I want a dog. So that can be a very touchy subject because I definitely would love to have a puppy to come home to. But anyway.
I'll be your puppy.
Oh, thank you. Oh, look at that tongue.
It's big.
Oh Lord. Okay, always with the sexual innuendos.
always.
I don't know why I'm losing my voice here.
I know I am too. We're both a little bit verklempt.
It's very dry.
Yeah, we're both verklempt today.
What I was going to say is with your comment on Instagram about what you do to prepare before guests come on the show, I was going to ask you, did you just wake up? And I was going to be like, I'm so jealous that you literally can roll out of bed or whatever 15 minutes before one of these, and this is the difference between men and women, I think. I mean, depends on the man or the woman, obviously, but yeah, your breasts are rising, sure. Put a bit of padding in the bra, get ready for these visual conversations that are available on YouTube as well. But the fact that you can do that, I was a bit jealous. So I'm like, yeah, right. Well, I'm gonna have a shower and, do my hair a little bit, put a little bit of lipstick on.
I actually did shower this morning. I've got to tell you, I actually did shower just for you because I want to have a little bit of hygiene, Thankfully, we're not like the fifth dimension yet where people can actually have smell-o-vision and stuff. Because I would be thinking like, really? Yeah. Like, why is that matter?
Can you imagine? Like every new laptop, every new MacBook or whatever comes with like a little new feature with a tiny vent that just, you can have smells and they waft out as you're watching an ad for, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even eat Subway. I don't know why this came to mind.
Gotta
like
keep
watching
fresh.
An ad for Subway or something like that. And all of a sudden, like, that horrible fake bread smell comes out.
I know. But you make a point though, because I could imagine because of 3D printing now being such a thing, that 3D printing would be so developed that even like the camera in your laptop, like your eyesight camera, imagine if it could like cast. You're right? It can just like cast in front of you. Like if this was like your countertop, and then your camera would just like start building something before you. I can imagine something like that happening. Yeah,
like a hologram, like a hologram or something.
That's
like that.
Right. And now when I was talking about that scratched, nice kind of organic countertop, everybody from whatever episode I said, now you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
This is just floating in mid-space as much as I would wish it could. That'd be nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then of course, what mine, I don't even know if I can.
On your genitalia books. The big 3D. There it is.
Those of you that are listening, you're like, what the heck is she doing? My laptop, every time I do these meetings or these conversations, I prop up my laptop on my two favorite coffee table books, the big penis book in 3D and the big book of breasts 3D. So
I'm more of a penis fan, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, but I don't know. These penises are
I know.
Questionable. It's like it's very retro 70s porn penis, but interesting.
Not my taste.
Not for everybody.
We can ask Jono what his taste is.
We can. We'll do that another time. But I know our conversation got in a few different areas quite quickly. I love it.
As per usual.
So because she will be joining us any minute here, Hiiro, this is one of your besties, aside from myself.
Yes.
One of your nearest and dearest who is joining us today on our episode. And maybe just before she joins us, you can introduce her a little bit.
Sure, Rach.
She hops on, yeah.
Yeah. So for those that are listening or watching, awesome. Watching.
Listening.
Yeah, exactly. So for those that are hashtag watching, that's going to be on our branded merchandise whenever we get enough crowdfunding. Yeah, write that down. Caption that. But yeah, so this is one of my really dear friends, Genevieve Clements, and Genevieve Clements is an incredible entrepreneurial, business-oriented, creative workforce is kind of how I would categorize her if I had to give some kind of distinctiveness to her. She is an actress slash model. She is a social media influencer with her Instagram at Gen City, if you want to check her out. She is a huge advocate for mental health and for vulnerability in being a human being, regardless of gender or sexuality. And I really find that her knowledge base of what it requires to be a successful business person in this current day and age, pre, during, and post-COVID, is really fascinating for those of us that are in this generation, whether if we are in our 20s, in our 30s, or even 40s and over. And especially...
watch what you say. I'm getting close.
That's what she said. But anyways, as far as... Or he said, I guess. That's what they said. But as far as her... her pedigree, her credentials, the stuff that she's done and how she's pivoted with COVID to sustain her income, her lifestyle, and everything like that. It'll be really interesting for her to share with us how she's doing that, and the successes and the side steps she's had to take to accommodate to the lifestyle she wants to live. She has some aspirations that she wants to accomplish with her life that are in the near future. So it'd be interesting to see how she views that now based on prior to the pandemic and going forward. So anyway, I met her through working at the yoga studio that I used to work at, and she was only there on Wednesday mornings, but I would always teach on Wednesday mornings. So that's how I got to know her. And it was just one of those people that you look at and you think, I like you, right? You just get that innate feeling where you kind of give them that look. Like, if for those that have seen the movie Bridesmaids, and if you haven't, go watch it. But it's like it's like when the two main female characters are competing with each other with the new female friend, and they're doing the wedding speech, like the engagement party speech.
I love it. Yes.
And you just give the look, and you're just like,
oh. And speaking of which.
Hi guys.
Hi, Genevieve.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just kind of getting organized here.
It's all good.
Okay. I'm gonna grab my tea and I'll be right back. Is that okay?
No problem.
Oh my God, grab that tea.
We're actually introducing you already. So we should warn you. I know we do this kind of candid banter just before. Don't worry. It's all real. I love it.
Yeah.
We candid banter, and then we should have warned you. You hop on and we're recording already. We can always edit things out. But getting tea is not a bad thing to say. Not like you said. I just gotta get my joint. Just a second.
Yeah. I mean, I can do that too.
Grab whatever you want to feel comfortable. There are no restrictions here.
This is true.
Okay, good. Well, keep talking. I'll just grab my refill here.
So as I was saying,
yes, Bridesmaids.
It's one of those people where you just give the look and it's like, Lillian. And so it was like the look that Jen and I gave each other. We were just like, okay, that enough has been said through our eye contact. This is gonna work. So she's just an incredible woman. I have so much admiration and respect for her. And if I could accomplish what Jen has accomplished in the time that she has, I would just be set up for life. So
I like she's listening to all this. It's not like it was planned.
No, not even close. Jen knows.
She's just buttering you up.
Yeah,
I know.
Interesting how I'm really strong at buttering up women. Just gonna leave that as an empty comment, open-ended comment. Like, if I was into women, if I was the exact same person, I'm sure I'd have no problem finding a connection with women. But that's just not how I was made. So
yeah, but you know what? You'd butter up men as well. There wouldn't be a difference. It would be even more so. It's just you are a human lover. You're a lover of humans.
I am a lover of humans.
Hashtag human lover.
If you take out the genitals, yes.
So it's very nice to virtually meet you finally.
You too. Thanks for having me.
We're so happy to have you.
So we did a little intro just before you hopped on. And I know Hiiro, excuse me, again, I've got like a frog in my throat today.
You're getting verklempt.
Okay, we can all drink our tea. Oh, good.
No, the season changes, like it's so dry up here in the Okanagan too, no matter what.
Damn you, Mother Nature.
Yeah, exactly.
He's PMSing all over the place.
Did you say he?
She.
Jen, do you like to go by Jen?
Yeah, whatever. As long as it's not Guinevere, I'm okay.
Guinevere. Interesting. People look at your name and they say Guinevere?
Guinevere, Genevieve, Guinevere. I get it all.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's interesting.
No.
Very strange.
No, right?
No.
That doesn't add up
I
at
can't
all.
see that. I'm looking at your name right now underneath your picture and I cannot see how that works. But anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
People get lazy. They don't actually read, I think.
Yeah.
But Hiiro, go ahead if you'd like to continue the actual introduction because she's here.
Yes, absolutely. So Jen, I was just explaining to Rachel and our listeners how you and I met initially through the humble yoga studio that we both belonged to, and how we just had this incredible connection in and out. And it was just like that look where you're just thinking, okay, we're besties. We don't know each other yet, but we're going to be besties. And Genevieve just had this sass and this swagger, whenever I came in. And because I felt so comfortable in the environment I was in, I came in with a similar kind of, I own this place. I'm awesome. I love myself. And Genevieve had a similar vibe. She was just like, I love myself too, and this is my domain, I guess. And so eventually she started coming into my class.
That's a rare quality. Sorry to interrupt, but that's a beautiful, it is a beautiful quality to have, for sure. And when was this? How long ago was this? No.
4 years, 5?
I would say 4 to 5 years ago.
Okay.
I don't know if it was 6 because I just thinking about the timeline really quick through my head. I would say about 4 to 5 years ago. I think it's been 5. I think it's been 5.
Yeah.
But I just remember that we would start talking and everything and just have really good dialogues, rapport. And I know that I was very candid and very much who I was. And I know that Genevieve connected to that humor. So I think that's probably how it started, just through bantering, I think. And then she asked, like, when do I teach? So then she came and started stalking my classes. And it was history from there.
Basically.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It was history from there. And then eventually we just started hanging out. I couldn't even tell you when we first hung out, which is actually kind of cool that it's always been seamlessly
happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No,
I was going to say, because just going back to that time, I think Hiiro just told me before we got on the phone, not I think, I know he told me, you were working 6 jobs at the same time. So
I have a very big history of overworking myself. So at the time when I was working at the yoga studio, I was mostly just there 1 day a week, sometimes 2. And I had about anywhere between 5 and 7 jobs. The most at one point was 11. That was like too much. But it wasn't like every day, right? It's just like jobs that would come up, on a monthly basis sometimes.
Yeah. Now, do you think that's, this is an interesting segue into just the age demographic that and I'm a decade older than you, both of you, but I'm still on that cusp or edge of the millennial age, right? So I feel like that wasn't something that was done, 20 years ago, where somebody would have multiple jobs and kind of just feel like they were testing the waters with different things. And I think that's very much what a lot of our age demographic does these days is, takes on a few different projects or some creative things and, just tries to figure out where it is they belong. I don't know if that's kind of what you were doing, but not sure, but
I don't know. Like, I don't know anyone else, honestly, that works the way that I work, because I think I'm crazy, to be honest. And if I knew somebody that worked the way I worked, I'd tell them, don't do it. I don't know if it's a demographic thing or an age thing. I think in general, like, being in Vancouver, it's expensive. So you either hustle and you have at least a couple jobs to fill in your schedule, or you don't live in Vancouver. And I think the problem with that is that often, like, you know, we find these like side jobs and they don't give us enough shifts. Then we get another job that also doesn't give us enough shifts. So then all of a sudden we're kind of juggling these crazy schedules. And I don't think it's an ideal place, but I think it's just what people kind of end up doing to make ends meet and to live in an apartment, right? So
no, that's yeah, very good point. Well, because there's that livable wage that doesn't exist in one job. Like no one pays a living wage. They pay minimum wage, or they pay a bit more sometimes, but right. So that's
totally. I mean, I did it because, and I think a lot of people who do these types of jobs and this type of work do it for the same reason, is because you have a goal in mind, you're focused on an art, like for me it was acting, and I needed to find something that would support that job, something that would allow me to like go to an audition on moment's notice and be able to rearrange my schedule how I liked. And the reality was that one of the main reasons I ended up working so many jobs was because I was going through extreme chronic pain, and I had like a decade of chronic pain that I was dealing with. So I needed jobs that would support me being able to say, no, today I'm sleeping in. Like today I'm not getting up, not doing anything. I needed jobs that weren't on my feet all the time. And then one thing led to another where I had this like bank of opportunity. And I was like, okay, well, the pain kind of started to go away. And things kind of got better and better. But I ended up with all these jobs. And only until recently, because of COVID, I stopped working all these crazy different gigs, you know? So... Right. At the end of the day, I think a lot of us like work a lot just to try to make ends meet, but some people are also just looking at a way to realistically support their dreams coming true, right? So they're just looking at these supplementary things that give them a flexible schedule.
Can you speak more to the history of your work experience? I think it's neat for people to understand the steps to how we end up where we are. Because if we look at people that we look up to, celebrities of any kind, you know, they usually started in fast food joints. They didn't just get handed something and then, you know, took off to stardom or fame, right? So what were some of your first experiences that got you to where you are now as a successful businesswoman?
Well, my first job was at a bakery. I worked there for 2 years in high school. I mean, my first job was delivering newspapers, but I don't think that counts.
Sure, why not? Babysitting.
Like, you know? So when I moved to Vancouver, you know, I was going to acting school. So I was like, well, I needed something that would support me and like give me a little bit of money. And thankfully I had amazing parents that kind of helped support me through school. But I worked at coffee shops. I worked at a liquor store on Hastings, just to paint a picture. It was
beautiful.
Terrible job.
If those of you don't know what Hastings is or where Hastings is, it's a very colorful part of a downtown city.
It's the ghetto.
We'll just be honest.
I work on the border of it, so I'm lucky, but yes.
Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah, you know, I worked there for a while. I worked at this like crazy pasta joint. It was like an Italian mafia restaurant where at night, like they close the doors. Yeah, I can't tell you, but at night, like they would close the doors, and then all the cooks, everyone just started smoking inside and like gambling, and it was out of this world. It was crazy. Wow. I worked there for like 2 weeks, and then I walked out of that place pretty quick. And then one of my most like long-standing jobs was working at a tattoo shop, and like, I mean, I have tattoos, you probably can't even see them. I'm not like a crazy tattoo artist, neck tattoos and stuff, even though I love them. I love the art. I ended up in this job because a friend of mine was working there, and she left the job, and I asked her who was taking over, and she said no one. So 10 years later, I was still working there up until about a month or two ago now. So that was definitely like a really sweet job. The owner was an acting coach of mine as well. And so super supportive for me to be able to do my own thing. And I went from like the receptionist to managing to taking care of all their art events and launching a bunch of events for them, and then doing all their marketing and social media and all sorts of stuff. So that kind of was really cool because that was an opportunity for me to just see what I was good at, see what I loved, and then try to help a business, you know. And then sort of throughout all this time, I worked at the yoga studio. I worked at Sage Wellness with slang and essential oils. I'm like, look at them, like a big stack of them over here. And then throughout all of this, I was doing these events. So I was working as a promo model. So, you go to like car shows and you see the girls walking around with iPads trying to sell you stuff or give you stuff for free.
Oh, you weren't like, on a car, like legs
well,
up,
sometimes,
like a Price is Right model.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, one time I had a pretty sexy gig with Ducati motorcycles. That was probably the sexiest gig that we had. We just sat on motorcycles for I think it was like a 14-hour shift in stilettos where you sat on a motorcycle in like this teeny little red dress.
Oh my God.
Terrible. But like all these little side gigs, and I realized like, hey, I can commit to my acting career if I support myself with all these little chunks, little pieces. And it worked out. Like I can work on my own schedule, I can do my own thing, I can support my health conditions, my pain, I can do all these things. And then I was really happy. I was like, life is kind of good right now. I can make as much money as I want to make in theory, and so I started a business, and that kind of became my company. And what that was is it's a job hub so that people can log in and find a job for that day or that week, and basically pick and choose what kind of little gigs that they can take to supplement their income. It's with the sole purpose of allowing them to pursue their passion. So
where were you gosh, I wish I had you like years ago when I had my yoga studio, when I was like, how the fuck do I keep this afloat? Like I need little side things or side hustles, or even to be a yoga teacher, which sometimes I say it's akin to being an actress or actor, I should say.
Totally.
Anyway, what is it called? Your business?
So the company was called Activate Xperts, and I didn't have the technology at first to start an app. So I just sort of did it on my phone. My clients would call me, and then I would text all my friends and all the people that I knew that needed side gigs, and they would text me back, and I'd say, yeah, your book. I'd train them, I'd set them up, and, I sort of became that middle person for them.
Right.
And then this time last year, I ended up partnering with a company in the States that's actually creating an app for the business. So that hopefully should launch in the next few months. It'll launch down in California and Vancouver and Toronto probably as well, all at the same time. So that's
amazing.
Huge.
Yeah, that's on the horizon. Obviously, early this year, I had to shut down the business a little bit because, there are no events. Like my company was based on large events. So that was a bit of a hit with COVID. And I lost all my jobs. I went from having like 6 really great gigs to 0 gigs real quick.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, that's been kind of my 6 months, but I've, knowing me as a workaholic, it was about a week into quarantine. I was like, hey, can't do this. Like, gotta find a job. And so I ended up applying to 80 different jobs in April, and only 2 of them got back to me. 2 of them. I got a pretty good resume. The 2 of them, I was so.
Yeah, I don't feel so bad then. No, it's like that out there, and I'm so happy that you've got something like this that's coming out soon, because, and I apologize for interrupting, but just because you said about April, but what's happening now in Canada, everyone who's listening, is that we were very thankful that we had a benefit called CERB, the Canadian Emergency Relief Benefit, I believe, which is running out really damn soon for everybody. And so what I've noticed, as well as just, hopping on LinkedIn or looking at job postings, is that, holy cow, is the pool of people ever getting larger and larger that are applying for jobs, because they're finally realizing, smack in the face, like, you're not getting CERB anymore soon as well. So you're even getting that many more people. Like, it's competitive out there more than ever, I think. I don't know, have you noticed that, Jen?
Oh yeah.
It's just getting worse and worse over the months.
Like 80 jobs, 2 of them got back to me. One of them was to be a janitor in a building, and wasn't really keen.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, I'm good. I had applied. To be fair, I did apply.
I was going to say.
I just didn't. I wasn't feeling it. It was like all night. Like, it was like a midnight to like 6 a.m. I was like, so I'm just gonna just gonna take the serve for that one. But no, I ended up hearing back from an insurance company that said, hey, if you get your license and if you do the course and if you do this and that, you can work for us. So I was like, well, hell, what else am I gonna do during COVID? I've got who knows how many months. So I started selling insurance.
Wow.
So it was like a 4-month training and studying kind of process and having to get certified. And then, it's been about a month and a bit now that I've been working full time in the insurance field, which is really weird to me because I've never just had this one job. I dropped all my other jobs pretty much except a couple because I just can't have just one job apparently. So yeah, I started working in insurance and it's been great and crazy and weird and new, but really fulfilling. And it's quite the big difference, I'd say, for sure. So,
and you're working from home?
I'm working from home. Yeah,
because you're able to do things like this.
This is my crazy little setup here.
Oh,
my office and my bachelor suite.
I have a similar setup in my kitchen. Interesting. Yeah. Oh yeah, we get it.
What are some of the differences you notice from having multiple jobs and many different kind of environments versus focusing on one job and then also a very direct purpose, like a direct focus for what the job is? What have you noticed is something that you notice that's quite different? Regardless if you prefer it or not, just what are some of the differences for our listeners that they might not realize?
Yeah, I mean, the main difference for me right now is that I'm making more money and I'm a bit more supported that way. Instead of having to work a lot for a little bit, I'm working a lot for a lot of bit. So it made a big difference just in terms of my energy levels, right? This is the only job I've had where if you really put in a lot of work, you get a lot out of it. Whereas a lot of times in your own business, you can drain yourself to your deepest, darkest place and you get something out of it, right? You get a company, you get something going, but it can be very minimal. It takes a lot of time to get that momentum going. So that's a major difference. And I think the other thing is that, I'm not juggling all these different things. I mean, in the past, I would be home and then I'd be, for example, 6 a.m. working at the yoga studio, done at 12, walking into Gastown, stopping off to do an errand, and then working from Gastown till about 7 or 8 o'clock, and then working on my business, and then doing this and that, and then working on my Instagram, try to keep myself afloat, and filming an audition once I got home that night, right? So now my biggest commute is my bed to my kitchen to my living room, which is literally 15 steps, I think. Tops.
I love it.
You look beautiful. So I don't know, you still made it work. So that's fantastic.
You are giving me some major Hawaiian. You're giving me some major Hawaiian vibes. I love it.
I wore my fancy shirt just for you guys.
Oh my god!
I love it. Is it
little tigers
or tigers? Yeah, no, pumas I think are just one color. I don't know. I love that shirt.
They're shoes. Let's get real.
I was in my closet. I was like, "What do you wear to a fun podcast?" I was like, "A sweater." I was like, "Nah."
What's for the color? Because I'm wearing gray today with my gray mala, which is I don't know, but my tiger's orange. See, this is always the color in the background is my tiger painted.
Right, totally.
Sorry, go ahead, Hiiro, if you wanted to. I had something I was curious about as well.
Yeah, no. Well, I was really
curious.
Well, I just think that's really fascinating because I've been able to see Genevieve go through her growth and her journey and her experiences and so forth. And so I wonder, when you think about with COVID, you think about the development in your professional life and you think about acting and modeling. I'm curious to know, what has it been like being someone that's pursuing their passion and what their craft is during this society? Because it couldn't be the same before. So what is it like now? What have been some of your experiences that you've lived through Instagram and also through photography, through modeling and acting?
I mean, that's a heavy question, it's heavy. I'll be the first to say I'm not a famous actor, quite clearly. but I've been at it and I've
But
been
you will
pushing
be.
at it for years. Well, not yet, right? But at the end of the day, like my one thing that I sort of forgot about, and like through going through all these jobs and being kind of trying to pay rent, right? And created a company. And it's like one of the things that I sort of forgot about and I looked over was like, what am I actually passionate about? Like, why do I hold that true to my heart? And like, why does it matter to me? And so I think, just going back to your question here, I was like, with COVID and everything going on, we've had this time to reflect and to like, whoa,
Totally.
like, what are we doing? Okay, so we're not working, we're stuck in a room, maybe with our partner or all alone, we're really kind of put in this space of reflectiveness and like reevaluation, right? What actually matters if you can't see your family and you can't work and you can't, what matters, what makes you survive, right? And as an artist, I think that's really, really valuable. For me, it's been trying to connect back to that passionate thing and that thing that like made me want to do this in the first place since I was a little girl, right? And in terms of modeling, I mean, I had like Zoom photo shoots throughout COVID, which were totally weird and interesting. But those, they were cool. But for me, it was actually an opportunity for me to use my ring light, my setup, and get a new phone and set up my own photo shoots and kind of like take control of my own craft. Because as an actor, like you can't, unless you're booking some TV shows right now or some things that are going on, for a long time, people were just creating their own stuff, right? They were doing their own thing. Models, same thing. They're doing their own selfies and trying to get more professional and artsy and just kind of trying to keep that momentum going. And the great thing is like so many people are on Instagram right now because, well, we've got more time on our hands.
Yeah.
Everyone's scrolling. So you've got an opportunity to kind of relaunch yourself or reevaluate or reconnect with people in like a new way.
Good point.
Well, and I think, you make a really good point. And I think also something that you kind of said was with reevaluating things, we were forced to slow the fuck down because, the world and all of us were just spinning out of control. So it's a very positive thing, I think, that's happened throughout all of this. But then people like us who do like to be a little bit more creative and who might take our passion and try to turn that into monetization of some sort. I think that we've had to take a step back to think about the why. Like, why are we doing this? Like, take a step back and being like, instead of, having it control our life to the point where we start to almost not despise, but you kind of almost start to dislike your passion because you're focusing way too much on it to actually help you survive, I guess, which is why I know you're doing so many jobs on the side and things like that. But we've all been in that same boat. But I think it's made all of us reevaluate the why. Like, why are we doing this? Why are these things that are close to our heart that we want to share with the world? Just kind of finding that perspective again, I think, which is very important for a lot of us. So, because we can get so attached to and overwhelmed with, just being able to put food on our plates because of doing these creative things that we like to do, right?
Yeah, totally. I think it's going back to the why. That was one of my biggest business lessons was go back to your why. Why? Why are you doing that? And why are you doing that? And why is it that you're doing that? You're doing that? And what's the why? And then just finding that like that core value or that core reason, and then looking at that and saying, okay, so if this is my reason, then what else can I do to supplement my life that I'm not already doing? Like for me, that was like my core reason was I love helping people. I love supporting people's passions. So, at the core was I love to help, which means that like creating my business was in line with that. But working all these different jobs wasn't necessarily in line with that. But working in insurance was in line with that. And even though that's never something I would have ever thought of or that I, really thought of right off the bat, I just kind of realized it as I went along. I was like, okay, I can allow myself to be in this weird new place because I know my why. And it's okay. You know, I'll make it work and I'll come out winning.
Yeah, exactly.
So what would you...
Sorry, there's something else I do want to talk about for sure on that same topic, but you go ahead, Hiiro, please.
Well,
I was excited from coffee, I think.
No, it's good. I just wanted to, because it was so focused on like this dialogue. Like, what would you say right now on a whim? What's your why now then? If you've done that work and development to refine the process, what would you say your why is now?
My why is definitely to help people. I mean, from day one, it's always to live in a more passionate world, because I realized when I was living in my passion and I was able to supplement, you know, my income so that I could pursue my passion, I was a happier, healthier human being. So with that being said, like, I thought, hey, what if all the people that I knew that quit their dream job or quit their dream to have a real job, you know? And in particular in the film industry, a lot of filmmakers stop working in their art and they start working in the film industry, which means they're working 12-hour days, sometimes more. A lot of my friends who did that, like, I haven't seen them create a film in a decade, right?
Wow.
And they just lose that spark. They lose the reason why they got in film at all in all, because now they're making great money and just helping other people make Netflix films, right? So I was like, okay, what if all of the friends that I knew didn't do that and they actually pursued their passion? And what if all the people that I knew in my circle, whether it be film or modeling or yoga teachers, you know, what if they just did their passion and they weren't worried about making ends meet because they were supplementing their income? And so I built a business on that mind. And then, that's like awesome. Moving forward, that's still my why. Like, if I can help people right now, you know, I help families and I make sure that they're protected. And at the end of the day, it's just to help people just to live in a better world, you know, and to do my part and try to like create a better community of people that don't just work and kind of like realize when they hit 50 years old that now they get to retire and do the fun stuff, right?
Right.
Live with people that actually are enjoying their lives from like day one, you know?
Yeah. That's yeah. Like I said, I wish I had you like 10 years ago.
You've got
I have you now. So exactly. Wow.
Genevieve Clements for president.
Yeah, right. Prime Minister.
Prime Minister.
No, I can't compete with Trudeau's sexiness, man. Nobody can compete with that. Like, who are we gonna have now? Like,
I agree. He can. I do agree.
Like, realistically, he can make some big mistakes, but at the end of the day, I'm like, God, you're sexy. Damn it.
I think a lot of the world agrees with that statement.
I've never been. He's never been my type, to be honest. But I don't think he's unattractive. But
he's smoldering. I do like him.
I mean, also, I'm half French Canadian, right? So, like, a man that can speak 2 languages bilingually, like, perfectly, I'm like, oh, Lord, help me.
That's so funny.
That'll get you
going.
Oh my
gosh. At Justin Trudeau, I feel like I love that we're kind of peeling the mask off of this whole like shiny, glitzy, like it. Okay, I'll back up a little bit here. I feel like there's a misconception where people see other people on social media living their passion, doing what they're passionate about, and they feel like they've got everything together. And that there's actually, when we were just talking to Rachel Scott on our previous show, she was talking about how, you know, people think that they're just going to be these huge Instagram stars like right away. Or, you know, it's like, bam, okay, like, you know, I've got my branding, I've got this, I've got that, and it's going to happen overnight. Like, that's not reality. And I guess what I'm getting at is for the longest time, I just thought that, you know, it was almost impossible to be successful at your passion, and that you needed all these little things to help support you. But that was okay. I think I thought I was a failure if I wasn't, if that makes sense. Like I thought I was failing if I needed to rely on other modes of income and other, like, I don't know. What do you say to that? That's kind of quite a big topic of conversation.
I mean, I think it's a huge, a very like a common denominator that a lot of artists feel that way. You know, I'm getting goosebumps because like I feel that's what kills an artist, right? It's that thought that well, if I don't do this full time, then I might as well not do it at all because I'm a failure, or what's the point, right? And yeah, I mean, that breaks my heart. And I think I had that mentality for a long time. I still sometimes have that mentality, because I have acting coaches that are like, Genevieve, what's wrong with you? Like, either be an actor or be a businesswoman, like pick something. And I'm just like, no, I'm going to be everything. I'm going to do everything that gives me joy.
Black and white. That's interesting.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a point to that. I think that on Instagram, for example, any like Instagram course or anything, they'll tell you, don't put everything in one place. Like, have a very specific brand, only do one thing so people know what they're looking at when they're there. Okay. But to me, like, that didn't make sense because that's just not who I am. Like, I love business. I love creating things. I love acting. I love emotionality. I love life. And I just like to do all the things that I love to do. So I'm not going to downplay myself. The reality is that, yeah, maybe if we dedicated ourselves full on to something like our passion, that maybe we speed up the process. But throughout that, we're probably going to be more stressed. We're probably not going to be eating very well because we're not going to afford rent and food. We're probably going to be struggling. And like, what's the price you're going to pay? So in my opinion, like, supplementing your income and like taking things bit by bit and experiencing life is so much more important. And I tell that to actors like all the time who just like, I mean, they just kind of go into acting and all they are is acting and there's nothing else in the world but acting. I'm like, well, what about your life? Like, how can you be a good actor if you're not experiencing life? How can you be a good yoga teacher if you're not experiencing life? You're not embodying that. I think all art breaks down to that.
Yeah, well, I agree.
And you make a point of that too, though, because when I understand the comment that you were saying, well, it's do this to do that, but it all correlates to each other. So the more versatility you have to embed your own life experience into what you do, professionally, personally, or as a passion, if it's not, even that passion might be professional too, you're actually going to be a lot more successful because you're not just going to be going through the formulas and going through the kind of like the analytical process, which you can be a great technician, but are people going to remember you for your technique, or are they going to remember you for your soul? And I think you need to think about what's happening inside of here, not necessarily what's happening only here and here. It's the combination of the alignment of those things that make you successful, regardless of the pace you want to grow and be successful at. No one can take that away from you. So if you lose it, know that you never actually lost it. You just might have been a little bit taken off that path. And we all have something that's deep within us if we really look far enough to understand who that is. We just have to tap into that.
Totally. One thing that came to mind, like, I think at the end of the day, like, when I went through a traumatic event, and through that process, I realized our lives are so short. Like, they're so short. And we never know when something's going to happen. We never know when our world's going to be turned upside down. And that, we might not be able to walk again, or we might not be able to talk again, or we might not be able to think properly or act properly, or we might not be able to dance again. Who knows? Like, it could be anything. And so when I went through this process, I realized, okay, my life is short. I need to cut out the things that don't serve my everyday. Like, if I'm not enjoying my life every single day, then I'm doing something really wrong. And sometimes when we dedicate ourselves to a craft or an art, we put our lives on hold, right? And we stop thinking about this and this and this. And we just think, okay, I got to do this. And I got to try to get this done. And I'll enjoy my life 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when I retire, right? And you don't know if you're ever going to make it there. So to me, it was super important to enjoy my life every day. And I think if you can pursue a passion in a comfortable, supportive way, then you're just going to be in a much better space. Like, you don't want to be in a hospital bed one day and regret not taking care of the little things, right? And having fun.
It's hitting the nail on the head for me right now. That is so something I've been thinking about lately. And it's the I'll be happy when syndrome. I'll be happy when, I'll be happy when, I'll be happy when. It's or like I'll be happy when I win the lottery. Like, it's that kind of a a thing, right?
Yeah.
Or things will fall into place when.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I know now we're getting a little bit philosophical here, but it's so true. Like actually, and it's funny because before we got hopped on, I was gonna share this book with Hiiro, but I'm currently rereading Pema Chodron's Living Beautiful. And now it's funny because it's backwards in the video, but Living Beautifully with Uncertainty and Change, and just, about how to live with groundlessness and knowing that is an everyday occurrence. Like it's not about, I think for the longest time I was just struggling or wanting to find how to live to be grounded. But in reality, it's like, how do you live with groundlessness? Like, whoa, that's
I like that.
so out there. But how do you live with being groundless? Because that's really what every day is about. And how do you take that to the next level? And I'm butchering this a little bit here, but it was just, anyway, lots of things I've highlighted in this book. But actually, and the one thing, what does it say? Freedom comes, what is freedom? Freedom from struggling against the fundamental ambiguity of being human.
Wow.
Ooh.
That is juicy, man. There's
a lot of juiciness in this, but I feel like it sort of hopefully ties into, it's funny that I actually brought this book out, but it kind of comes back to some of the things we've been talking about. And it sounds like, Jen, that you're finally finding your freedom in a sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, just to kind of give you guys a bit of I know Hiiro knows all about this, but just to kind of back you up a bit, Rachel,
Mm-hmm.
I know some of my followers, I get pissed off because I write all these like long emotional posts and they're like, what are you talking about? Well, here's the juice. So it was 5 years ago yesterday, my ex-fiance basically got in a crazy car accident and he ended up with severe brain damage. And so
Oh my goodness.
basically that I went from us taking a separation because of alcoholism and all sorts of other things that he was dealing with. He got sober, he got in a car accident. So I was in the hospital for 6 months every day, pretty much, like ICU for like 2 months, I think, every day. And like everything from like him not recognizing me to him thinking I was his sister to him learning how to walk, talk, to me changing diapers. Like just my life just changed really quickly. And so it was a really hard time in my life because my heart was just fucked, to say the least. Like I had this crazy pain in my chest and just this sense of like losing somebody but not losing them and having to reconstruct anyways, I can't even put it into words. But at that point, like it got so heavy for me and like the emotions and just the feeling, and I would collapse in tears, and I was kind of on my own. Like I didn't have a lot of people that were supportive of me helping his family and being there for him. So it was a few years that were just really, really tough. And I mean, it was weird. It was like every movie that I watched or every TV show that I ended up watching, there'd always be a car accident. There'd always be a brain injury that would always heal miraculously,
Oh, geez.
And there's still a lot of improvement to be done. Like, so he made it through, and, he can walk and talk, and he's in a good, positive mind. We don't see each other very often anymore, but it was a few years where I just basically said, I'm never going to act again. I don't want to act. I don't want to feel. I can't ever experience this ever in my life. I can never allow myself to get to this place again because I won't make it. Realistically, I would never be able to go through that again. And so, I was like, being part of the film industry where they pretend that, a brain injury is just like, oh, someone kisses you and you're all better, or you wake up one day and you're fine. Irritated me to my core so much. Then I said, I can't keep portraying these fake stories because I now know what it's like to go through hell. And I now know, my version of Romeo and Juliet. And like, it's just, you can't explain that in a movie. And so I said, yeah, never again. I'm not going to experience emotions. I'm not going to act. And I'm just going to focus on business and get 11 jobs and live my life happily. And that didn't work out. Like, realistically, like I had to fight to fall in love again with my partner, you know, and I love our relationship and it's amazing. And that took a lot of time. And now I'm realizing, I actually wrote a post about this yesterday on my Instagram, that, yeah, I'm realizing that I really shut out a big part of me. And saying I'm never going to act again and I'm never going to be emotional and experience that just shut me out about being human. Like, it just took that away from me. So I'm more of a robot than I am human when it comes down to it. That's how I felt. So I'm working to like get that back and like to come back into my crazy emotional experience of life, right? And that's been my struggle, you know. That's been my sort of like push, like, how do you go back to the day before the worst day in your life, right? How do you find yourself again, even though you have a history of trauma or whatever it might be? How do you kind of not put that aside, but how do you find a place where you can still be yourself and just use that as storytelling or use that as your power and not necessarily have it shut you out?
And I don't think you do go back. I don't think you do try to find, like, that's all happens so that you can move forward and you can, I mean, that's going to be all a part of the new and improved you. You know, like, I don't think there's any point in going back, you know, if that makes sense. But thank you for sharing that, because that's huge. Like, I don't know, to me, that's a huge lesson on vulnerability. Like, I actually wrote something yesterday about just being vulnerable and putting yourself out there. But it sounds to me that you lost that vulnerability characteristic, or because to be vulnerable is, yes, being open to being hurt potentially, but it's also open for wonderful things to happen. So it sounds like you're finally like getting back to being comfortable with being vulnerable, and that's huge.
I don't know if I'm there yet, but I'm trying.
No, but
you know,
yeah, exactly. And trying is half the battle, I think, of, you know, but thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I mean, it's our power. At the end of the day, I think it's our power to be able to feel and connect and be emotional and, you know, vulnerable and at the end of the day, to connect. Honestly, I think that to our core, that's a huge part of the human race. Like, if it wasn't for that, like, we wouldn't be where we are. So, I think it's integral. And often I think that people forget about that sort of stuff, you know. They forget about the importance,
or they don't just forget, but they don't want to put themselves in that situation. It's not that they forget; they just purposefully don't do it because they don't want. Yeah,
they shut it out. It's you put like a cap on the bottle, and you're like, all right, I'm good. You know, I'm just gonna let the mechanism of my body work, and then you know, you just kind of coast, so to speak. So I think right now, there's a lot of trauma being shared in the world. There's a lot of conversation about it. And I mean, you can't just erase it from your life, but how do you go back to the day before it happened and then bring in that experience and feel like yourself again? You know, how do you kind of remember what it felt like not to have been so hurt? And then from that point forward, like, then you can start building. But in my opinion, like, if you can't go back in some shape or form to that feeling of, like, that's called a childhood, right? Or that feeling of like, just being okay. Then I mean, it's so hard to rebuild and to use that experience if you can't relate to what it was like prior to that. I think
that's true.
You know, and that was the same sort of thing when I went through my chronic back injury. I had a really hard time healing, and basically it was just like chronic back pain for 10 years. Wow. And it started when I was about like 13, and I was like, you know, I was like getting older and I'm diving into like spirituality and stuff. I was like, okay, well, what is it like to not have back pain? I was like, I don't know. I don't remember. Like, do you remember how your body felt when you were 12 years old?
I do actually.
Do you? Oh.
I actually do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
You're all enlightened. That's why, Hiiro.
I can't think of my body at 12, but I can definitely think of traumatic experiences around that time of my life, or like between the ages of 9, 10, and 12. But
for me, it was like I couldn't remember what it was like to not have pain in my body. And, you know, I was like, well, what does it feel like? Would I sit up more? I would sit up straight. You know, I'd fall asleep easier. And that was what started my healing process, you know, was imagining what was it like to not have pain in my body. And as soon as I was able to imagine that and create that mindset, my pain started going away. And I've been 5 years pain-free since then. Doctors have no idea what was wrong with me. They've did every test in the planet. They're still doing random tests just to see. But that was the only way that I was able to cure my fibromyalgia, which is what they had called it. So
mind over matter, my friend. Like that's an amazing example. How, and it's interesting that you talk about that, about changing a mindset, which can actually change a physiological symptom or sensation. Because I do the opposite. I manifest like discomfort and things like that in my body. And I mean, this conversation doesn't have to get on the topic of health anxiety, but that's predominantly what I live with is, I mean, health anxiety is a nicer way of saying a hypochondriac, I guess, so to speak. But it is, I don't know what I was going to say. I was going to use the word crazy. I hate that word. I will not use that word. It's interesting how much you can actually think about something, you know, like, for example, I don't know what it is, like doing some gardening or something. And you're like, oh crap. But before, when I did gardening, you know, my arm hurt for a week, but this is not the same time. It's another time you're gardening. And then your mind's like, oh, my arm's probably going to hurt for a week again, just like the last time I did it. And then basically you just manifested that symptom, even though it's not actually there. Like a few days later, I started to feel, you know, oh my God, my arms now, oh, there we go. Yeah, it's happening again. But I get, it's just that manifestation of a symptom. So I love that you were able to, you know, flip that on its head and change it. Like, that's incredible.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm pretty proud of it too, you know, because at one point I was told I wouldn't be able to walk when I hit my 30s. So,
whoa.
My God.
You know, I mean, I had doctors say all sorts of crazy things, but that one definitely hit pretty hard. So
even though they didn't have like a diagnosis, they were still saying that?
Well, they were just looking at every year was getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So they're thinking like, you've got severe nerve damage, and your body, if it keeps experiencing this much pain, it's gonna shut down. It's just not gonna help you, right?
Wow.
But I think that doctor is kind of full of shit too. But at the end of the day, you know, that sort of stuff is really, really scary. So I think when you get to that position, you don't have another choice. I mean, it's choice A is I'm going to be in pain and miserable. Choice B is I'm going to try this crazy woo-woo shit and see if it works. And it worked. You know? Totally. So, yeah.
I still say woo-woo when it comes to like yoga stuff. Sometimes I do. I'm like, yeah, that's a little woo-woo, but meh.
I love woo-woo.
Yeah.
Totally.
I got like crystals and everything going on over here. All about the woo-woo.
Yeah, I'm wearing I haven't actually worn my mala for ages, but I'm wearing it right now. So yeah, no, I get it.
Oh no, for sure. And again, just listening to both of your stories and your experiences of how you turned those experiences into coping and to being resilient, perseverant through those experiences, it's important because, I mean, my biggest overcoming has definitely been through grief and through loss of a sibling and loss of a grandparent prematurely. And when you go through these experiences, your brain, and because I went through these experiences when I was at the ages of 11 through 16, 11 through 17, you know, those moments really do begin to formulate these responses in the brain that can trigger into our adulthood. And even if we can always change the neuroplasticity and the pyroplasticity of our brain, and how we respond and correlate to experience, it certainly wouldn't have been for the therapies and the counselings and everything and the tools and the yoga and a little bit of medication and supplements and Chinese medicine as these kind of things that might be looked at with judgment or with ignorance from other people. These are the things that we go into when we are forced into, in a sense, forced into looking for alternative ways of looking at how we make ourselves feel better and how we can also not band-aid something, but we can actually heal. And that's what's powerful about times right now, is that when we're put into a situation where we are forced to look so deeply inward, our opportunity to actually come out on the other side and to move through it and to adapt through it is, I think, what makes us that much stronger in some ways that others may not realize or have even the capacity to understand the concepts of any of the things that the three of us have talked about in the last period of time.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I love Hiiro that you said a multitude of different healing mechanisms or tools, because a friend of mine actually posted the other day very candidly on, what was it, National Mental Health Day or something like that. It was a couple days ago. Mm-hmm. And so she's a yoga teacher, and she posted a photo of what aids her to being the best version of herself. And she had a photo of all of her tools. One of them was medication. And I've actually never seen, there's such a stigma around medication these days and trying to be super holistic and just doing one thing, just being holistic, don't use medication. That we can have a whole podcast on that. But what I loved is that, and she's a yoga teacher. She, like I said, she had, the Western medicine, and then she had next to it like her knitting needle and her mala beads and her crystals. And I'm like, to me, that's beautiful. Like, she's saying it's okay to take from all these different places, right? Like, you don't have to feel ashamed that you are taking medication too. And that's, oh my God, like, yeah, I can talk about that for a long time and I won't, but yeah, the fact that there are multiple ways of doing this and every body is different, every brain is different. All of our experiences are different, and it doesn't have to just be holistic. And don't beat up on yourself or feel guilty that you have had to take medication. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's just it, like, we live in such a beautiful world. Like, why shouldn't we mix these different cultures up? Why shouldn't someone who goes to the doctor for pain medication or whatever also go to the Chinese medicine clinic or whatever they're called, and stop at that sage and get some oils and get some crystals from another place? Like, I think it's so important that we use all the tools that are available to us.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you, Jen, while we have you here still, and as we come to the wrap of this discussion, which has been,
I can't believe it's gone by so fast.
It's gone by super fast, which I knew it would because of our nature of being very like-minded. Do you have any, I wouldn't say parting words, because parting, it's like, I'm never going to hear or talk to you again. But do you have any insights or contemplations that you want to share with those of us that are listening and that might be listening in once we release this discussion? Anything that you want to leave with them that would be a continuation in the future?
That's a deep one there, Hiiro.
I go deep.
You can plug your own projects, do whatever. Like, this is your platform too. Yeah.
No, I think my main thing would be enjoy your life every day. Like, don't waste your time doing things you don't want to do. Don't waste your time working a job you don't love. Don't waste your time in a relationship that doesn't support you. Don't fucking do it. Like, sorry, I don't care how sexy they are, just don't do it. Like, don't waste your time on people that aren't like amazing and that don't like really support you. At the end of the day, I think that would be my main thing. Don't waste your time on situations that aren't making you grow or bring you to the next level, whether that's drinking or going out to the club. Not that anyone's doing that nowadays, but you know what I mean. Like,
you shouldn't, of course.
And at the end of the day, I think the main thing is that often I think we get distracted and we start avoiding what we love. Because if we really dedicated ourselves to what we love, then we set ourselves up for potential failure. And so we start avoiding and we start using distractions so that we don't have to fail. And I'm so guilty of that. I think that the main lesson for me has always been set yourself up to fail as many times as you can. Why not? Because that's life. And the reality is the chance of failure is so much lower than the chance of succeeding if you actually put your mind and your heart into it.
I love that.
Yeah.
That is so great.
Adore that. I adore that. There's one more question though, and I'm going to ask it this time because I think we've gotten into a bit of a habit or routine here now of asking this last question, and we might change it up on people. But if you were a fruit juice, the first thing that comes to your mind, what would you be and why?
Well, okay, first thing that came to mind was orange juice because I like orange juice. But then I thought, something that I was actually contemplating yesterday, which is like diving even deeper. But anyways, is that a nutritionalist once told me that we crave the things that we're actually allergic to. And that we eat a lot of the things that we're not supposed to eat. For me, that was bread. I'm like a bread fanatic. Turns out I completely allergic to gluten, very much so. I had to stop eating it, and yeah. Second thing was apparently I'm very allergic to citrus, but I love everything citrus, citrus, like body butter and perfume and fruit juice and oranges and lemons and all this sort of stuff, and I still eat it all the time. So at the end of the day, I think it's a lesson that often we love the things that are not good for us, and we have to be aware of that.
Yeah, I like that. So you just like getting fruity, and that's just you in a nutshell.
Basically, especially around Hiiro.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, we get so fruity. It's delicious.
Fruity and juicy.
Delicious.
Take that, Jewcy.
Flexible. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
I love that.
It's been such a pleasure having you on our show, and for you to be so willing and vulnerable with us as well. I really appreciate your sincerity, and I think that the messages you share, the things you stand for, are really going to help hopefully impact a lot of people that are tuning in that may not know of you, or that do know you but maybe don't know those aspects to your life. So thank you as well for bringing yourself really raw, and I think that's awesome. Really important to acknowledge.
Yes,
thank you.
And I love that I'm finally meeting you because I've heard so much about you. So this has been a pleasure. Fantastic conversations, and hopefully we can have you back. And when your app gets launched, we want to talk about it. So let's stay in touch, because I know there's a lot of people that are really going to benefit from that. So that's really exciting.
We just got the new branding and the new name out for the company, so there'll be an official launch probably in the next couple weeks here.
Amazing.
So I'll make sure to let you guys know when that's when the Instagram is live and going.
Fantastic. We can't wait.
Awesome.
Well, thanks so much, guys. I love your guys' podcast so far. They've been so fun and uplifting, and it's nice to just have these great conversations, because we don't get to see friends all the time. So it's been really, I think it's really sweet what you guys are doing. So thank you for your work. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. And enjoy the rest of your awesome day.
I will.
In your bubble of your home, working
in my bubble. Actually, I get to go for a walk to see a friend, because she has a little pair of jeans she wants to give me. So I'm
queen.
Getting out of the house.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, I want to take a quick screenshot so I can throw it up on my Instagram.
Okay, let's go.
So I can say, look what I was doing. Hang on, let me twist you guys. Okay, everyone's smiling. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Is it cute? Let's check it.
Is it done?
Yeah, it's cute.
Okay.
I bet it's cute because my cheeks are
my cheeks hurt.
Burning. I'm sure they're going to be nice and toned.
We got a lot of good smiles at the end.
Yeah, we do. Absolutely. Look at these cheekbones. Yes.
Amazing.
Getting the cheeks working out.
Oh, I love it.
Working.
Getting cheeky.
Getting cheeky. Yeah. Getting
Yes.
everything.
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh,
And not that everyone can see our faces that we're making when you're listening, but
no.
on that note,
That
actually feels
Do I just like log out or like how? What are we
yeah,
doing?
you can just log out and we will just make the weirdest face that we can
Exactly.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Love you.
Love you.
Thank you.